Okay, Your Worship, ready to go.
Thank you, Michael. Has the waiting room been opened up to let the public in?
Yes, it has.
Okay, thank you. Okay, being 7 o'clock, I'll call the regular council meeting of February 8th, 2021 to order. And we'll start out as usual with the roll call. Lori Bickford.
I'm here, Your Worship.
Michelle Sherwood. Todd Cole.
I'm here, Your Worship.
Matt Pride.
Yes, I'm here, Your Worship. Thank you.
Ron Kelly Spurls.
I'm here, Your Worship, as well. Thank you.
Deputy Chief Finney.
I'm here, Your Worship. Thank you.
Chief Bowser.
I'm here, Your Worship. Thank you.
Kieran Miller.
Hello, Your Worship. I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth Hartling. Michael Beal.
I'm here, Your Worship. Thank you.
Becky Goodwin.
I'm here, Your Worship. Thank you.
Dwayne Acton.
I'm here, Your Worship. Thank you.
Donna Beal.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm here.
Jamie Burke.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. I'm also here.
Thank you. Councillor Finney.
I'm here, Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Butcher.
I am also here. Thank you.
Councillor Black.
I'm also here. Thank you very much.
Councillor Evans.
I too am here, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Michaud.
I am here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Tower.
I'm here, Your Worship. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to, I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
I move the agenda as circulated.
Thank you, Councillor. That's Councillor Evans. Seconder.
Sorry, yes.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Thank you. Call the question.
Question.
Oh, Councillor Tower.
Thank you, Your Worship. It didn't want to pop up for me. Under new business, I would like to add the public and lunchtime skates at the Civic Center.
New business.
Under new business, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll call then for a, you consider that a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Councillor Evans, is that a friendly amendment to your motion?
Oh, absolutely. We're all friends here.
Okay, thank you. Can we call the question for the agenda as amended? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. With that, we'll turn it over to the question period for the public. And I'll ask any members of the public who care to ask a question to turn off their, or turn on their cameras and microphones, and then turn them off when they're done. Are there any questions at this point? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures of interest tonight? Hearing none, it's taking me a minute to sort through some, there we go. I have a proclamation to read. Proclamation of Black History Month, February 1st to 28th, 2021. Whereas the celebration of Black History Month originates from the U.S. Professor Carter G. Woodson's 1926 Declaration of Negro History Week, a week in February which marked the birthdates of civil rights activists Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. And whereas 2021 marks the 25th year of the national recognition of February as Black History Month in Canada, and whereas Black History Month sought to level the imbalance in historical perspective and has become an important part of the multicultural and anti-racism programs, and whereas Black History Month in Canada is essential since it educates Canadians that slavery once existed in Canada, that many of the British loyalists who came here after the American Revolution were Black, and that our Black history is Canadian history. And whereas Black History Month is a call to each and every citizen of our great land to reflect on the cultural, scientific, political, and economic contributions of Black people to the development of Canada and the world. And whereas this year's theme, Black History Matters, Listen, Learn, Share, and Act, not only highlights the challenges Black people still face today, but also to the solution to ending racism. Therefore, I, Ron Aiken, Deputy Mayor of the Town of Sackville, do hereby proclaim February 2021 Black History Month in the Town of Sackville. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor, could I,
Yes, Councillor Evans.
would it be all right if I made a comment?
I think you just did.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess. I was thinking about this a lot. We do this each year, but I think this year it's especially important after the summer of the Black Lives Matter marches. And I just think we all need to be aware of the history of racial injustice and how horribly wrong it is. And we need to be aware that human beings were denied their human rights, denied the protection of the law, and denied their physical security. History has ignored their contributions, and they were denied their freedom and even their lives simply because of the color of their skin. And someone I have a great deal of respect for, Jane Elliott, taught us there's only one race, and it's called the human race. We have to acknowledge what happened in the past and ensure that it doesn't happen again on our watch. And as a lot of people have said, it's not good enough now simply not to be a racist. I believe we all have to be anti-racist. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, we'll move on to the minutes. Would someone care to move the approval of minutes of January 11th?
I'll move that. Councillor Butcher?
Thank you, Councillor Butcher. A seconder, please.
I'll second that, Councillor Evans.
Thank you. Call the question.
Question?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And can someone move the minutes of the special meeting of council of February 1st, 2021?
I'll move the adoption of those minutes too, Councillor
Councillor.
Evans.
Thank you, Councillor. Have a seconder, please.
I'll second that, Your Worship. Councillor
Thank you,
Tower?
Councillor Tower. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. There being no business arising from the minutes, I'll move on to the Southeast Regional Service Commission. And I have no report from the commission this month because the meeting was canceled. So with that, we'll move on to Ms. Bickford and planning.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. In the month of January, there were no building permits that were issued, which is pretty typical of this time of year. There was, though, quite a number of inquiries that have been made and some background projects that we're working on that haven't made a full application at this point, though. So that's why you don't see it as a number on our sheet. We did approve, though, 2 single lot subdivisions within the town of Sackville. As well as you'll see, there's 6 waivers that were issued in the month of January. The majority of the waivers that we see nowadays are people installing generators and the increased electrical that's associated with that. In the month of January, the Southeast Planning Review and Adjustment Committee did meet. However, there was no request from the town of Sackville before the committee. And I would like to just kind of hit a couple highlights of things that have been going on over the month. We are continuing to work on the intensive resource municipal plan and zoning bylaw amendment. I have received word back verbally from the minister that they have approved the municipal plan amendment. And then we would follow up, of course, with registering the bylaws once they're done or once they're received back from the minister. As well, tonight we would have the request for 3rd reading for the rezoning and redesignation of Reservoir Road. This is the one that's looking at taking a portion of the property from industrial designation and zoning into rural residential zoning for the purpose of constructing a dwelling on the property at a later date. As well, I did just kind of want to highlight that in 2020, staff did look at 7 contraventions to the zoning bylaw and to the building bylaw. And with that compliance, 6 of them, of course, we were able to achieve compliance before the end of the year. We have 1 contravention that required further legal action. And that one, of course, has gone before the Court of Queen's Bench in January to seek the remediation. And the judge has already ordered, of course, that the residential apartments cease as of February 12th. And he will be hearing the case again to finish it off on February 17th.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Bickford? Councillor Evans?
Yes, I'm curious. That seems to be a high number of violations, and it's my understanding that it's not that inspectors go out snooping around, is that these tend to be complaint-driven, or people report what they suspect are violations. So it's just a coincidence that after a long period of none, we had a spate of 7, as you say. Is that just one of those things?
Yeah, and I mean, now the 7 that I would report within the report, those would be actual physical complaints that were determined to actually be a contravention to the bylaw.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, if a complaint came in and it was determined that it wasn't a contravention,
Oh, sure.
then we wouldn't pursue it, and you wouldn't see it as a number because it would just.
Yeah.
But yes, due to staffing loads, of course, there is not the ability to run around and to look for these infractions, but certainly when we receive one in the complaint form, then we would look at pursuing it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any more questions? Okay, see, we have 2 motions and a resolution under Southeast Regional Services, and I'll hate to put people on the spot. Can I ask Councillor Black to read those for me? We'll give you a minute to find them.
Yep. I move that council give third and final reading to bylaw number 243D, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 243, the Town of Sackville Municipal Plan.
Thank you. Have a seconder, please.
I'll second that, Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question.
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Councillor Black?
I move that council give third and final reading to bylaw number 244L, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 244, the Town of Sackville zoning bylaw.
Have a seconder, please.
I'll second that as well, Councillor Evans.
Thank you. Any discussion? I call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Councillor Black.
Is this the resolution? Is that
Yes.
correct? I move that whereas Melanie Chasson and Jose Vautour have been accepted by the Southeast Regional Service Commission as building inspector, be it resolved that council appoint Melanie Chasson and Jose Vautour as building inspectors for the town of Sackville. Be it further resolved that council hereby gives authority to the building inspectors to issue orders and to lay information for offenses under and pursuant to the provision of Section 134 of the Community Planning Act and the Regional Service Delivery Act.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that, Your Worship. Councillor Tower.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there any discussion or question? Okay, I'll call the question. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Tower.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just a question. Are these 2 replacing people or just being added to the team?
I think I asked Ms. Bickford. Can you answer that?
Yes, these are the 2 newest inspectors that have been added to the team.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no more questions, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, thank you. With that, we'll move on to the mayor's report. And it's on page 17 of your package. I have one item to add to it as we go along here. In terms of meetings, I attended liaison meetings for finance, corporate strategy, and human resources. As I said earlier, the Southeast Regional Service Commission had no meeting in January, simply canceled for lack of agenda items. We held a virtual meeting with the 6 mayors of the communities affected by last February's hospital closures to suggest structures for consultations with the Minister of Health. And coming out of that, a letter was sent to the Minister of Health on behalf of all 6 mayors to outline some things we thought should be in the healthcare consultations. We had weekly Zoom meeting updates from public health on the status of COVID. And we had a meeting on Saturday morning of the COVID task force, which is looking for ways to transition itself to be of greater service to the community. I participated in interviews with CHME, the Times and Transcript, CBC, Bruce Wark, and the National Observer. And under correspondence, I had an email exchange with the Minister of Environment and Local Government. I tried to set up a virtual meeting with the Minister for Sackville to outline some of our concerns with the municipal reform process. And that meeting is going to happen this Friday at 3 o'clock. So I've already invited council and staff to be at that. Sort of dovetailing with that, we had a meeting of Zone 2 on Saturday morning, and the minister was at that meeting for a part of it, and he outlined the process for municipal reform consultations. Essentially, there's going to be they're meeting with us now. They'll produce a green paper by the end of March, and then a white paper, or further consultations through the spring and summer, and then a white paper toward the end of the year. And so that's a first leg in that process, really the initial go at it. We're having a meeting with the minister, as I said, on Friday afternoon, and kind of the benefit of the meeting, the Zone 2 meeting, was that we could get some idea of what they were after, where they were going, what their priorities were. So I thank Councillors Evans and Black for attending that meeting with me. And that is my report. If there are any questions, I'll entertain them. Hearing none, we'll move on to CEO report. Oh. I see no hands up. Questions. CEO report, Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Your Worship, and members of council. I'll be brief. The report appears on page 18 of tonight's package. I guess starting off the report, which isn't in the report in front of you, but good news this afternoon from the Chief Medical Officer of Health, with our zone returning to the orange level effective midnight tonight. So that's certainly some good news. I know lots of people have been long waiting for. So hopefully more good news will continue to come. Lots of positive things so far, despite the pandemic. Lots of positive things happening here so far in 2021. The Safe Restart funding being one of them, where our application was reconsidered, and we've been informed that we have already received $21,000 in change. And I won't steal the finance liaison Councillor Towers' thunder, and I'll let him tell a bit more of good news that we received today from the province. Just a few things to highlight. Certainly want to recognize the Engineering and Public Works Department. We had a major water line break on one of our main lines coming from the water treatment plant that just so happened to be under the eastbound lane of the Trans-Canada Highway. So I know Dwayne and Michelle and the crew have been busy working with a multitude of partners to repair that break, and it's now been completed successfully. So thanks to our entire crew for the work and attention to that to make it get everything back to normal. Also good news, I guess, especially with today's announcement for 14th Annual Winterfest, which is scheduled to take place on February 18th to 20th. So we encourage all of the residents to take in as many activities as they can. Our public art project, the Shignecto Balance, now completed and installed, and great to see the Marshview Middle School students down there exploring the area now on a regular basis, which I assume is part of their physical education requirements, but great to see them outside enjoying that space. And then lastly, especially with the Mother Nature's win last night, great to see everyone out there using our walking trails. It's my understanding that the cross-country ski and snowshoe trails have been wildly popular. I assume that this is going to be a really big week and big weekend for them. So encouraging everyone to get out there and enjoy an active winter, especially with the cold tempers. It'll keep everything nice and dry for the next little bit. So that's it for me, Your Worship, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Burke? Seeing none, we'll move on to Finance and Administration and Councillor Tower.
There, I didn't want to unmute. Thank you, Your Worship. First, the bills and payroll. That information is on pages 20 and 21. It's almost a straightforward one, but does the treasurer wish to add any notes to that before I make the motion?
Thank you, Councillor Tower. So yeah, the major bills for the month of January, as general government, was nearly $1 million. Would be the RCMP bill for the October to December period. Our major power bills for the month of December, Southeast Regional Service Commission payments for January, and a large one for insurance bill for the year 2021. The remainder general capital, utility government, utility capital are fairly small, with the bills and payroll payroll on page 21. So I will note that there are a number of screens that are not showing up on the live feed, just the initials of councillors. So just for the public's perception, that's an issue with the World Wide Web and not an issue with our system. But our apologies, but the audio feed is still good.
Thank you, Michael. I move that council accept the bills and payroll for the month of January 2021 as follows. General government, $903,688.40. General capital, $55,443.87. Utility government, $45,095.33. Utility capital, $18,681.75, and salaries of $224,291.94.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I have a seconder, please?
Councillor Mishra, I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor. Any questions? To call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's carried. Councillor Tower?
Thank you, Your Worship. The next is the financial information on pages 22 to 27. The financial statements are included to the end of December 2020 as of January 29, 21. During January, many of the invoices are related to 2020 and were processed, as well as some adjustments that were made for year-end entries. During February, we will continue to work towards the final numbers for the year of 2020. On hearing of the Municipal Boring Board on January 11th, 2021, we were not needed to attend the meeting. The capital application comprised of a request of $444,000 worth of utility capital borrowing authorization, with no general capital borrowing required for 2021. And on January 20, 2021, we were advised that our application was approved. The water bills for the period of October to December 2020 went out January 18th and 2021 and have a due date of February 17th, 2021. As mentioned in the previous council report, the funding application was submitted to the province for funding related to COVID-19, and our claim was rejected, but as our CAO reported, that we still ended up with $21,739.25 related to last year, 2020, sorry. These funds have been received in early February. On Monday, which was yesterday, we revised that they have initiated phase 3 funding under the Safe Restart Agreement, with the remaining funds are distributed to each municipality based on per capita. Sackville will now receive an additional $289,398.40, in addition to other funding, which means $311,137.65 in total funding under the program. And that is, you're right, Yahoo indeed. FCM funding application was submitted September 14th, 2020 to continue advancing our asset management plan through a new work order system with Public Works. And on February 1st, we revised that they are working on the applications number 250 to 300, and we are number 444. So well, maybe by June. And dog tags for 2021 are now on sale. We need proof of rabies vaccination, which is required at the time of registration. And the due date to register a dog before additional fee of $20 is March 31st, 2021. And staff continue to work on the 2020 unregistered dogs who were subject to the bylaw infractions. And I'll do the bylaws and animal after, just see if there's any questions on this report first.
Are there any questions on the finance report?
2 thumbs up, we'll take.
Councillor Tower?
Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw enforcement information is on page 28. The report for January is included. We continue to monitor illegal parking, 2-hour parking areas, dangerous and unsightly premises, as well as overnight parking enforcement. Residents are reminded that the overnight parking ban that remains in effect, which could result in $50 fines and additional possible being towed. And you'll also notice that the numbers in the report are low, and that's mainly because our bylaws officer had to go into 2 weeks of self-isolation, so that reduced his time out on the road. And the animal control statistics are on page 29. And the most glaring thing in that report, of course, is that 3 dogs were left outside 24/7, which we all understand is quite unacceptable. You know, if you own a dog, you should treat it like you own it and with respect. If you don't, then let somebody else take it. So maybe it's time for the town to consider doubling or tripling the fines on it to wake people up. But that is that report, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any questions on the other 2 reports? Before we go on, though, I would like, given the amount of good news on the money front, I would like to acknowledge and thank the work of the Mr. Beal and his staff in getting this money for us. They had to put a lot of effort into it, and it looked initially like it was going to be for not much, but now it's come. I know he's not pleased with not getting the whole amount we wanted, but we've done pretty well. So thank you to Michael and his staff. Okay, we'll move on then to tourism and business development, and Councillor Tower again.
Thank you, Your Worship. The information's on pages 30 and 31. We anticipate the Visitor Information Center opening on Thursday, May 20th, 2021, in time for the Victoria Day weekend. We look forward for another year of serving visitors to Sackville and Sackville residents, and hopefully this COVID thing is really calmed down and more people will be coming around. The town offers a 50% subsidy membership for Sackville businesses, the Chamber of Commerce for Greater Moncton, and that continues to the end of this month. The business can contact our manager or the chamber for more details. On January 26th, the town and the Moncton Chamber of Commerce co-presented a free virtual workshop, Pivoting and Business Plans During the COVID-19 for Local Businesses. The workshop was attended by 11 local businesses and managers, and very well received. I wonder if Mr. Spurls would like to add something to that?
Thank you, Your Worship, Councillor Tower. Yes, we were very pleased with the turnout, and the presentation was very high quality. We do also have a recording of it if anybody was unable to come out and would like to see what was talked about. I'd be glad to share that with people. And I think people found it a useful kind of look at what we might be facing over the next 12 months and some things that businesses could do to help themselves through this potentially difficult period.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Spurls. The department is planning a workshop to bring organizations that support businesses. Examples are Community Business Development Corporation, Opportunities New Brunswick, and others, together with local operators. Details will be available soon, so please check the town website or contact our manager for details. We are pleased to announce that the Waterfall Park Artists in Residence and Performing Artists in Residence program will be returning this summer with COVID precautions in place. Anybody interested in that program should visit Sackville's website or contact our manager. We continue to have increased interaction with the provincial tourism department and Destination Southeast, with regular monthly meetings and other meetings taking place. Some topics of discussions have included analyzing visitors, postal codes, improving snowmobile tourism in the area, grants available to municipalities through the Regional Development Corporation, and how to ensure Sackville area businesses have opportunities to be included in their regional programs. The department is considering the possibility of installing outdoor painted piano in the downtown area again this summer for 2021. So if anybody has a piano in reasonable condition, they can would like to donate, please contact our manager. And that is the report, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Tower. Are there any questions? Councillor Evans.
Yes, my question is about that last item. I was one of the talentless citizens who enjoyed people who did have talent playing that piano last summer. And I'm just wondering who owns the piano? And why are we looking for another one? What happened to the last one? So perhaps the director could explain that to me.
Mr. Kelly Spurls?
Yeah, I have some sad news.
Oh, no.
We very diligently planned to move the piano at the end of last season before it got too cold out. And literally the day that it was able to be moved was the day of the hurricane, and the remnants of the hurricane that hit Sackville. And before it was moved, the piano fell over. And unfortunately, it's no longer in playable state. So that's why we are looking for new ones.
Thank you. I'm sorry I asked.
Yeah. Sorry to have to report that.
No more questions. We'll move on to public property and facilities, and Councillor Finney.
Thank you, your Deputy Mayor. The Public Property Facility Liaison Group met on January 28, 2021. The month of January saw a few snow events and lots of rain and freezing rain, which kept crews busy salting, sanding, and plowing. One downtown cleanup was done during the month. Public Works staff started to construct 2 new pump houses for Pump House 1 and 2 at the water treatment plant and reservoir area during the month of January. Public Works staff completed the installation of the new arts piece, the Shignecto Balance, during the month of January. The art piece is a great addition to the retention pond area, and we look to create a walkway in and around the art piece and install additional signage in the spring. Utility Department and Public Works staff work with local contractors to remove and replace the broken water main, as mentioned earlier by our CAO, under the eastbound lane of the Trans-Canada Highway Route number 2 during the month of January. The Engineering Department continues to work with J&D Electric and our electrical consultant on the generator project for the Tantramara Veterans Memorial Civic Center throughout the month of January. And the Engineering Department continues to work on the preparation of tenders for several 2021 capital projects. The Tantramara Veterans Memorial Civic Center. January started out with all ice users having the ability to have spectators play games However, once placed back to the red phase, the Civic Center was closed to the public. Horizon Healthcare came to the Civic Center for a site visit on January 22nd when looking for COVID-19 assessment center in Sackville. On January 26th, the building was transformed and the first patient came through the doors for a test. Glad to hear that. All Civic Center staff were given training on what PPE are needed and how to properly put on and take off the PPE when working in the healthcare setting, such as the assessment clinic for the purpose of cleaning and maintenance. The new digital sign is up and running. Staff are now able to take sign rentals for things like birthdays and anniversaries. There has been a sign rental and arena board advertising policy presented to council for the consideration. And skate sharpening is still being done at the Civic Center by appointment for drop-off and pickup. Snowshoes are also available to be loaned out by appointment. Municipal parks. Staff are maintaining all the parks daily, Monday to Friday. Snow removal on the main trails in the waterfowl park and the retention pond will be done by Public Works and parks staff during the red phase. Staff will plow the upper look at Beach Hill Park for walking in addition to the ski and snowshoe trails. Parks staff assisted in the time-lapse camera maintenance in the retention ponds. And also, due to the red phase of COVID-19 and the fact that the TVMCC is currently closed, staff have built and installed 40 new swallow houses in the Waterfowl Park. An RFQ 2021-03 was issued for the town's flower contract during the month of January. The 2-year flower contract is to supply and install the flowers for all of our flower baskets, planters, pots, and beds around the town, including the green roof at Town Hall. The contract also included the remediation of the beds in the spring and fall. Town staff do all other flower bed and pot maintenance, such as weeding, watering, painting, pots, and small plantings with flowers purchased locally. A motion will be coming forward during this regular council meeting. Staff secured pricing on 5 additional cast iron flower pots from Black River Casting in St. John, New Brunswick. A motion will also be coming. Respectfully submitted by Dwayne, Acting Town Engineer.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any questions? Councillor Evans.
Yes, I have a question. When I read this package and I saw something, and I'm always comfortable displaying my ignorance in public, what are time-lapse camera maintenance? What are the time-lapse cameras in the park? I'm not aware of these things, so please illuminate.
Mr. Acton?
Thank you, Your Worship and members of council. Councillor Evans, we were grateful enough to work with the BRACE program some time ago to put the time-lapse cameras up at a retention pond, and it's taking video. So it started taking video when we started construction of the retention pond, if you remember, and those cameras are still running today. They're still running because we want to see the transformation over years, how the pond will grow and flourish into a wetland.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Are they? They're not live streaming. This is not something we could watch. This is something that you're recording and will, just like in that video that we saw before, it'll be used in that way. Is that the idea?
Yes, it is, and unfortunately, because they are cameras, we do change the batteries in them on a fairly regular basis. So we just use our Zoom boom and go up and change the batteries. Also collect the data, and yeah, those will be made available in the future as time-lapse videos for the retention pond.
Wonderful, exciting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Butcher.
Thank you. So now that we're moving back into the orange phase, I am assuming that our Civic Center ice will be open again with lots of people able to skate and teams able to practice. So I'm wondering what that will mean for our COVID assessment center that's located there and how that will work.
Mr. Burke, can you deal with that?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Councillor Butcher, for the question. Given that we're in the orange zone, we're very confident and comfortable that the assessment center will be fine as is. There's no games, so they're Horizon is fully aware, I guess, of the operational needs of the Civic Center, and they were aware of that at the time that they agreed to use the facility. So we're very confident that the both can coexist, and we're looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Finney.
Mr. Burke, can you tell me, as a matter of fact, now that the assessment center is open up at the top part, I believe, am I not mistaken, or am I correct? And if they are, does that mean that everybody will be coming in the side door down below?
Mr. Burke?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Finney, for the question. You're correct. The temporary COVID-19 assessment center is occupying the mezzanine area of the Civic Center at the present time. I'll ask Mr. Actor and Mr. Cole to talk about the traffic flow in and out of the building. If Mr. Actor and Mr. Cole, if one of you want to comment on that.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, with respect to the assessment center, all patients go in and out the mezzanine only. And we've got any of the user groups for the hockey rink will be coming in the lower door and exiting the lower door only, and you will not be able to go from the, I'll call it the ice surface area up to the mezzanine without going outside the building and going in the front door. And of course, you have to have an appointment to go into the assessment center. So they're separate.
Thank you very much, Mr. Acton. It's good for people to know that. Your Worship, I don't know, is there any more questions?
I see no more questions, so if you've got a couple of motions to read.
I do. I move that Council award RFQ 2021-03, planting and maintenance of flower baskets, planters and beds to Farmer Brown's greenhouse in the amount of $32,954.40, HST included, for the years 2021 and 2022.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that, Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any questions, comments? Hearing none, call the question.
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Councillor Finney?
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that Council approve. Sorry, I'm in the dark now. Give me 1 minute. Thank you. That light doesn't stay on long enough. I move that Council approve the purchase of 5 black cast iron flower pots with Sackville in raised white lettering from Black River Casting in the amount of $12,937.50, HST included.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that, Your Worship. Councillor Tower.
Thank you, Councillor Tower. Call the question. Are there any questions? All right, question?
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. All right, thank you, Councillor Finney. And we'll move on to recreation programs and events. And again, Councillor Finney.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. All in-person program is on hold until the province returns our zone to the orange or yellow phase of recovery. We are offering a virtual seniors exercise program for those who are not currently able to participate in our prime time and 50-plus aerobics program due to COVID restrictions. The department has begun exploring other virtual seniors programming, including bingo, socials, and more. The manager has been part of ongoing discussions through the COVID-19 Youth Action Group and their partners about the establishment of a youth council or ongoing action group for the Tantramara area. The 14th annual Winterfest will take place February 18th to 20th, 2021. A full schedule of COVID-friendly events and programs is available at www.sackville.com/winterfest, and plans are underway for virtual options should we remain in the red phase of the province's COVID-19 recovery plan. Hopefully we'll stay in the orange. The Intangible Culture and Heritage Council of New Brunswick has partnered with the Sackville Triathlon to offer the Levy on the Lake event in Middle Sackville on August 21st, 2021. A motion will follow this report to approve a street closure, in-kind contributions, and a liquor license application is presented by Shelley Chase at the February 1st special council meeting. A virtual home loan training will be offered to children ages 9 and up on Saturday, February 20th at 10 a.m. Registration is $25 per person and available at www.sackville.com. March break planning is underway and a full schedule of COVID-friendly events will be released in mid-February. And now the library report. Despite our zone continuing to be red, now orange, the library has been open regular hours with full access, including computer access with active COVID-19 screening at the front door. Thanks, Matt Pride, Manager of Recreation Programs Event.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any questions on the report? Seeing none, I'll ask Councillor Trini to read the motions.
I shall, your Deputy Mayor. I move that Council approve the following grants in accordance with the town's 2021 operational budget. Operational grants, 681 Air Cadet Squadron, $1,000. Bob Edgett Boxing Club, $3,100. Live Bait Theater, $5,000. Owens Art Gallery, $1,000. Performers Company, $2,000. RR Rural Rides Limited, $2,000. Sackville Boosters, Basketball Boosters, $1,000. Sackville Citizens Band, $500. Sackville Minor Baseball, $1,000. Sackville Minor Football Association, $2,000. Sackville Minor Hockey, $8,000. Sackville Skating Club, $6,000. The Sackville Swim Club, $5,000. Sackville Youth Soccer, $1,200. Struts and Faucet Gallery, $2,000. Tantramara Heritage Trust, $7,500. Tantramara Marsh Lacrosse, $1,400. Tantramara Outdoor Club, $2,000. The TRHS Boys Hockey, $1,000. Now the special events, projects, grants. Center for Artistic Achievement, $3,800. Ensemble Moncton, $3,900. Intangible Culture and Heritage Council of New Brunswick, $4,000. Playwrights Atlantic, $1,000. Sackville Golf Club Junior Program, $500. Sackville Music Festival, $1,500. The Sappy Fest Incorporated, $4,000. Small capital grants. The Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 26, $3,500. The Sackville Cemetery Company, $2,000. Tantramara Heritage Trust, $1,750. Tantramara Marsh Lacrosse, $400. And that's it, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that. Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there any discussion? Councillor Michaud.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I know we had some information provided to us by Mr. Pride last week on Ensemble Moncton. I'm just wondering if maybe that organization could present to council in regards to the work they've been doing and what will this particular project do to assist our community, maybe at a later special council meeting.
Okay, we'll take note of that, and I'll ask, I guess, our clerk to put that on her agenda. Any other questions?
Thank you, Your Worship. Duly noted.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Burke.
You're muted.
Sorry. Just thank you, Deputy Mayor. I guess just to clarify something that came out of the special council meeting last week, there were some questions raised with respect to the grant requested by the Sackville Farmers Market. Staff followed up with the Farmers Market following the meeting, and they've actually withdrawn the grant request. So that's why that item did not appear on tonight's motion list.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Burke. Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Councillor Finney.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I move that council approve the following for the Sackville Swim Club: to grant the temporary closure of Main Street from Morris Drive to Church Street and Church Street from Main Street to Falcons Drive on Saturday, August 21st, 2021, from 8 a.m. until noon for the purposes of operating the Sackville Triathlon.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please?
Councillor Michaud, I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor. Any questions? I'll call the question then. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Councillor Finney?
I move that council waive the rental fees of town-owned property such as tables, chairs, picnic tables, a fire boat, and other similar items for the Sackville Triathlon on August 21st, 2021, with the understanding that the Sackville Swim Club will be responsible for any lost or damaged equipment.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please?
Councillor Michaud, I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
What?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Councillor Finney?
I move that council approve the following for the Intangible Culture and Heritage Council of New Brunswick: to grant the temporary closure of Main Street from Morris Drive to Church Street and Church Street from Main Street to Falcons Drive on Saturday, August 21st, 2021, from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. for the purposes of an event space to accommodate the Levy on the Lake Festival, with a poor weather date for the same times on Sunday, August 22nd, 2021.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that, your worship. Councillor Tower?
Thank you, Councillor Tower. Is there any discussion? Okay, before we move to the vote, I just would like to note that in the presentation last week, Ms. Chase said that the closure would only affect a very few people on, I think she referred to McPhee Lane. And I would like staff, as this moves forward, to consult with her about everybody living up Pond Shore Road. That'll be this road will be closed, and all the roads coming off Pond Shore. So if staff could, pending the approval of this motion, if staff could monitor that, I think it'd be appreciated. Okay, we'll call the question.
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Councillor Finney?
I move that council waive the rental fees of town-owned property such as tables, chairs, picnic tables, a fire boat, and other similar items for the Intangible Culture and Heritage Council of New Brunswick from August 21st to 2021, August 22nd, 2021, with the understanding that the Intangible Culture and Heritage Council of New Brunswick will be responsible for any lost or damaged equipment.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please?
Councillor Michaud, I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor. Call the question.
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 All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And for the last time, Councillor Finney.
Thank you. I move that council grant permission for the Intangible Culture and Heritage Council of New Brunswick to operate a beer garden in a secured area in Lillis Fawcett Park on Saturday, August 21st, 2021, or Sunday, August 22nd, 2021, subject to provincial liquor and safety laws, and obtaining liability insurance in the amount of $2 million, naming the town of Sackville as co-insured.
A seconder, please.
I'll second that, your worship.
Thank you, Councillor Tower. Any questions?
I'd just like to say, Your Worship, that people are probably wondering why we talked about the triathlon and the Intangible Culture and Heritage Council. They're partnering together on this project. Though they're separate, they're still working together on the same weekend. And so people will see and probably hear more in the near future to understand exactly how they're working together. I hope that helps a little bit for clarification.
Yeah, thank you. I'll call a question.
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, thank you, Councillor. And then we'll move on to public safety and Councillor Butcher.
Thank you. The report can be found on page 37. The liaison group met on January 28th. Some of the highlights of the fire department. Sackville Fire and Rescue responded to 7 calls for service in the month of January. They included 3 commercial fire alarms, 2 requests for assistance from New Brunswick, and 1 motor vehicle collision and 1 report of smoke at a residence. And the calls for service in 2021 were down by 14 calls compared with the same time frame in 2020. So that is quite a substantial difference. There was no in-person training in the month of January due to being in the red phase of the NB COVID recovery plan. However, some members did attend a virtual training session on situational awareness that was hosted by the Maritime Fire Chiefs Association. And of course, members also conducted station and equipment checks to ensure that all equipment remains in a state of readiness. Staff continue to actively monitor the COVID-19 pandemic very closely and are following instructions given by the Public Health Agency of Canada and the Office of the Chief Medical Officer of Health for New Brunswick. The pandemic is not to be taken lightly. Everybody keeps saying it over and over again. This is not the time to let our guard down. We're all thrilled about being back in Orange as of midnight tonight, but we need to remember that preventative measures include self-isolating if required, wearing a mask, social distancing, frequent hand washing, and sanitation. So we really need to keep doing that. First meeting of the year allows for changes in the company officers. Nominations occurred and the lineup is as follows. Deputy Chief of Operations, Mike Green. Deputy Chief of Training, Sean Finney. Company number 1, Captain Don Fillmore and Lieutenant Randy Clare. Company number 2, Captain James Estabrooks and Lieutenant Mike Wilson. Company number 3, Captain Gordon Brooks and Lieutenant Darren Estabrooks. Aerial Company, Captain Travis Estabrooks and Lieutenant Adam Stiles. And the Rescue Company, Captain David Sears and Lieutenant Wade Palmetier. And as always, we would like to remind all the residents of Sackville to make sure they have a basic emergency kit that should last for 72 hours. Things that should be in the kit are 2 liters of water per person per day, food that won't spoil like canned food, energy bars and dried foods, other items like a manual can opener, flashlight, batteries, and a first aid kit. That is the fire portion of the report. And now on to the RCMP. January 2021 was a very busy month for calls for RCMP service. A large number of the calls were related to the Emergency Measures Act. There were several traffic-related complaints, but collisions remained average for this time of year. Property-related crime continues to trend lower than normal, which is likely due to the pandemic, more people at home. Police continue to respond to above normal mental health calls, also likely related to the pandemic, or investigations that have mental health as a major contributing factor. So the police-related activities centered on the Emergency Measures Act, and officers were called to verify that traveling parties were complying with isolation directives. The police also respond to a few complaints from the public in relation to rule following. However, those were relatively few considering this current situation. And RCMP conducted patrols and targeted enforcement operations in town, and they responded to fewer complaints than in months prior this past January. And the number of tickets and warnings were given, a number were given mostly for speeding and administrative violations. And that is the report.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any questions of Councillor Butcher? Councillor Michaud.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I see that the monthly report is also included here for Lise Babineau, the CPO. I'm just wondering if at some point in time, I haven't had the opportunity to meet Ms. Babineau, and I'm wondering if maybe at our next special council meeting, she could join Sergeant Gagnon and meet and see council, and the public could see her and just get a little update from her personally as opposed to the report. And I'm also wondering if Sergeant Gagnon could be or would be able to review the quarterly report with council at that time. just to maybe kind of elaborate a little bit further on the numbers that we're seeing here, exactly what it means for us.
Okay, thank you, Councillor, Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just following up to Councillor Michaud's question and I guess request with the CPO. Sergeant Gagne and I are meeting with Ms. Babineau's supervisor later this week in lead up for a potential presentation for the March special council meeting. So that's certainly something that's in the works.
Awesome. That's great.
Thank you. Councillor Butcher. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on then to policy bylaw and Councillor Black.
Thank you. I just had to scroll to it. The policy and bylaw report can be found on page 49 and 50 of the package. The policy bylaw liaison group met on January 21st, 2021. Bylaw number 262, the street traffic bylaw, was brought forward to review the section on the use of skateboards within the town. Staff have looked at other municipalities and issues on liability and follow up with the RCMP. After discussion, it was agreed upon to present the draft bylaw number 262B, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 262, the street traffic bylaw, at the February 1st, 2021 special meeting of council that will allow skateboards to be used with helmets on the streets within the municipality. A motion will be brought forward at the regular council meeting this evening to consider first reading in name only of bylaw number 262B. Pond Shore Road speed limit. After receiving a letter from DTI, the meeting group discussed the speed limit along Pond Shore Road. Staff have reviewed how many residential properties are along that stretch and how many bus stops within the area. A traffic study will begin to be conducted in the next few weeks where speeds will be monitored and evaluated. Staff will look forward to bringing a report at the March-April special meeting of council if results and recommendations are provided from the road study. Policy 2021-01, the sign rental policy, was discussed. In October 2020, Council approved the purchase of a new LED digital sign for the Tantramara Veterans Memorial Civic Center, and staff have created a policy around the rental of the sign, as well as other advertising opportunities within the Civic Center. The policy for the sign rental will be brought forward at the regular council meeting this evening. The clerk's office attended RFQ opening 2021-03, planting and maintenance of flower baskets, planters, and beds, which we talked about this evening. During the month of January, the clerk's office continued to update the operational plan and provided updates from the province on COVID-19. And municipal training has continued in 2021, with the first workshop being held on January 26th and 27th of 2021. And that is the report.
Thank you, Councillor. Questions? Councillor Evans.
Yeah, I'm really pleased. I like to summarize it by saying the system works. We have two examples here where citizens have brought concerns to the attention of council, and we've deliberated. They provided reasons, and for reasons we've decided to change our bylaws. I really like that. I think it's encouraging. I think it's a positive a response to concerns that are evidence-based and argued reasonably. So I'm happy to support these motions that are coming up.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll ask Councillor Black to move on to the motions.
I move that council approve policy number 2021-01, the sign rental policy.
Can I have a seconder, please?
Councillor Michaud, I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor. Any discussion, questions?
Question.
Question.
Oh, okay. Question's been called. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Councillor Black?
I move that council give first reading in name only to bylaw number 262B, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 262, a bylaw to regulate street traffic.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll
I'll
second.
second that.
I very much to second. Okay.
I had Councillor Finney first. Discussion?
Question.
Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, Councillor. And next is Human Resources and Councillor Black again.
All right, let me just scroll down here. It'll be a short report. The Human Resources report can be found on page 56 of the package. The Human Resources Group met on February 3rd, 2021. As of the end of January 2021, there were 38 permanent employees and 1 temporary. Management has rolled out a new ergonomic assessment procedure for staff, and summer student opportunities are currently being advertised on our website with a closing date of Friday, March 5th, 2021. And that is the end of the report.
Oh, thank you. Are there any questions? Councillor Finney.
Yes, I was just wondering, did someone explain to me what is a new ergonomic assessment procedure for staff?
Mr. Burke.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Finney. I guess an ergonomic assessment is an opportunity where an individual's workspace and workstation is evaluated by a professional, in most cases a physiotherapist. So it's a way for us as an employer to invest in the well-being and comfort of our workforce. So it's something that we've done on occasion. We was never really written out or clear, I guess, to the workforce about what the procedure would look like. But we've now done that, and we're going to roll that out here in the next few weeks.
I'm glad to hear that's happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, seeing no other questions, we'll move on to Corporate Affairs and Strategic Development. And Councillor Michaud.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The report appears on page 57 of the package, and I do have a motion as well. The Corporate Affairs and Strategic Development Liaison Group met on January the 27th, 2021. Staff presented a new lease with Mount Allison for Sackville Waterfront Park at the February 1st, 2021 Special Council meeting. Motion will follow. At the January 11th, 2021 regular council meeting, council approved a motion to resubmit the application for Lawrence Street Stormwater Mitigation Phase 3 funding to the integrated bilateral agreement with updated 2021 construction values. The application has been received by the province. A temporary COVID testing unit opened, as everyone's aware, on January 26th at the Tantramara Veterans Memorial Civic Center. Sackville is not currently listed on the drop-down, and residents need to select Moncton when registering online. When Horizon calls to schedule the appointment, residents can request Sackville as their testing site. Horizon has indicated they are in the process of updating the site to add Sackville. The Shenectady Balance art piece arrived in early January and has been installed in the Retention Pond Park. Staff are working with Tantramara Wetlands Center to name the park, and new signage will be installed this spring. Staff applied for an experiential learning grant from Mount Allison for a business development student. This position would assist staff with various business development initiatives and coordinate with the BIA and local businesses. The trail at the end of Meadow Lane was recently completed. The land swap to create a pedestrian connection between Moffat Lane and Fawcett Avenue is almost complete. The town's lawyer is conducting a title search as the town-owned land needs to be on land titles to consolidate after the transfer. And that's my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Mr. Burke.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Just perhaps there may be a staff member out there who can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm quite sure that Sackville has now been added to the drop-down menu when selecting the assessment center of one's choice. I had a resident contact me late last week. So that's something that we've passed on from several people who attempted to make tests, and we passed that along to Verizon's head of communications. And if that in fact has been done, we're very pleased with, because that will certainly help with some of the early confusion.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. And seeing no more questions, you have a motion, Councillor?
I do, thank you. I move that council authorize the mayor and clerk to sign and seal the 24-year Sackville waterfowl lease between Mount Allison University and the town of Sackville.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please?
Second that.
Councillor Finney? I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, Councillor Michaud.
Thank you.
I'll move on now to new business, and Councillor Tower.
Thank you, Your Worship. During these COVID times, the town has been doing a pretty good job assisting the public, finding new ways to let them feel a little less pressure on their bodies and systems and mind. We go out and we are assisting user groups and sports clubs with possible reduced rates or with special grants to help them with their costs. And Sackville is one who's trying to become a more active community. We're trying to become more age-friendly community. We even have the committee set up for that. And with all the things we've done under COVID, we are basically showing pretty good leadership throughout the province. When I looked out other municipalities with the province, as in Quispamsis, Sussex, Hampton, Shediac, Riverview, Dieppe, all these communities, including Amherst next door, all have public skates that are free to the public. And some people might think that $8 for a family isn't that much, but for some it could be the difference between having this or not having that. So I think that I would like us to consider turning Sackville's public skates and our lunchtime skates into free to the public. I understand that there are season pass people that are out there, which we'd have to address that, and it would be a cost associated with that, and a cost associated with loss of revenue from those who do attend the public skates. But as Michael Beale said, there's nothing that we as a council can't do as long as we understand the costs and are willing to find those costs acceptable. So I would like council to consider the idea of free public skate and the free lunchtime skates to the people.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Do you have a motion to that effect?
Well, I want to hear the feedback from everybody here on this, from our staff as cost-wise and.
Okay, fair enough. Councillor Evans.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you wanted to talk to staff. I like the spirit in which this motion has been made, or this idea has been presented. I think everybody knows that everybody, whether they're aware of it or not, is suffering some negative effect from this pandemic. And I think we should do what we can to alleviate that. As I mentioned to Councillor Tower earlier, I wish this had come up at a discussion meeting so we could have discussed it and then staff had been able to think about it and provide feedback. I always worry about rushing into something and there being unintended consequences, but this is the sort of thing that I think is easy to do. We've just got some really good news on the financial front, so I don't think that should be a deterrent. But so again, I would like us to look into doing this because I like the spirit in which it's being done. I just want to make sure that we do it carefully or properly.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Does any staff care to make comment on this? Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Your Worship, and certainly I can appreciate where Councillor Tower is coming from with making the suggestion. I think our advice is regularly that we typically try to avoid making knee-jerk reactions in the event that there are unintended consequences or there's something that we haven't had enough time to evaluate. I mean, Councillor Tower has certainly pointed out some of the implications, one of the obvious one, which is a loss of revenue, but there are other staff requirements, especially with the pandemic and Department of Health suggestions with respect to cleaning, our own staff time, and certainly just a scheduling issue that when do we have ice times available? And we have limitations on the number of people that can occupy the ice service at any one time. So my suggestion to council would be that staff will certainly take Councillor Tower's suggestion back, and we would look to report to council fully at the, I believe it's the March 1st special council meeting with a full evaluation of the implications and what that would look like for the Civic Center going forward.
Okay,
but again,
you,
Your Worship, that's only my opinion and advice to you.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask Mr. Cole, when does the ice go out?
Typically goes out at the end of March.
End of March. Okay. So if we, all right. Councillor Finney.
I was just going to ask, do we think that we're going to have an increase in the number of people that will be using the free skates? Or has this pretty well been consistent even with the pay system that we have in place now? I understand that everybody's under a lot of pressure and stress because of the COVID thing. And I think it's a great idea what Councillor Sauer is doing, but is there any reason to go through all the process if, for instance, there's not going to be any real increase in the number of people that are going to be attending? Just wondering, just curious.
Chair, comment, Mr. Cole, or?
The only thing I would say is that currently we have people being turned away at some of the skates because there's only 25 spots in Orange, for example, that you're allowed to have in on at one time. So that's really the only restriction we're facing right now. Typically in a previous year, we'd have more people throughout the season doing skating because you could get like 100 people on a Sunday type thing. So that's the only thing I really see is just the numbers that are we're restricted by.
Okay. Councillor Evans.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up. There seems to be there are two parts to the suggestion. One is that we don't charge people for what we now have for public skates. And the other is that we have additional ones. And so if we reduce the price, I think we're doing that usually to increase the number of people. And as Mr. Cole says, if we're already close to the maximum, that won't work. We'll just be doing it for free. That's an easy thing to say yes to, and the implications are, or the consequences are clear. We will just lose some money, but we're providing a service, so that would be good. But having more of them where staff have to do more cleaning or more hours or whatever, that's the part that needs thinking about. If people were not going because of the price, I would be completely in favor of saying, let's drop the price. But just from what I've heard and understand, I don't think that's the case. So while it's well-intentioned, I don't know that it would accomplish anything.
Thank you. All right, Councillor Michaud.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I guess, as I look at the motion that's being suggested here, it hasn't been read, but I mean, one of the things is that it is being a pilot COVID relief. And I'm just kind of wondering, as we've identified the fact that, people are participating, want to participate in what's available, and we apparently want to see us offering more options for people to get out and be active. Maybe we look at this in the fact of seeing how we only have a couple more months left of the season, waiving the fee for those couple of months for the particular public skates and lunchtime skates that are in place, and then look at this further for the next ice season as to extending the amount of time that's available for these type of skates. And then looking at it from two angles, and that way we have more time to kind of look at what the cost would be in regards to providing those additional skates and the staffing requirements, etc.
Thank you, Councillor Tower.
Thank you, Worship. It's for Mr. Cole. How many season passes do we have for the skates?
Mr. Cole?
Rough idea?
We currently have 4 individual season passes and 1 family pass.
Okay, so we would have to reimburse those people the balance of it because they would have already paid going forward. So they probably wouldn't like the idea of everybody else going in for free, but their money's been paid for it. So as an added cost, but it wouldn't be that large of a cost. So thank you for that. I like the idea of us still doing it.
Okay, I might suggest then what we do is have follow Mr. Burke's suggestion of having staff look at this and what all the attendant costs and problems might be with it, and then have staff also report back to us on extending since it's by the time we vote on this, sort of about 2 weeks left to do some skating. Ask staff to evaluate what would happen if we extended it to the end of the year, right, into next year, because I think if we think COVID won't be with us next September, we're being stunningly naive. So if council is agreeable, I think, can we ask the staff to do that?
Yep, I like that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I will move on to question period. And any members of the public care to ask a question of us, please unmute your microphone and turn on your camera and proceed. Ms. Butler.
Hello, hi. I guess I had a question about the Safe Restart funding that was announced today. Considering that money, like close to, I guess, 290,000 or 280, I don't have the figure in front of me. Seeing that, so that's unbudgeted money that you will receive in 2021, and I'm wondering what the process will be going forward. Will council be considering how to put that in the, like, will you be adding that to the budget, or will council be looking at that separately as a budget, and how does that go forward?
Okay, I'll ask our treasurer, Mr. Beal. Can you answer that question?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So yes, that money will come in as 2021 money. It will go into our general revenue fund. A portion of it may go into the utility fund. Again, we were just provided today that the funding would come through. So how and where that fund is allocated is yet to be determined. We're of course in 2021, and we have additional COVID related expenses that are still happening. So that some of that will go to offset those additional costs. But once we have time, we will evaluate where we are, what if there are additional costs, how much the additional costs are related to COVID, because technically that's the specifics where those funds were to come from. So it's a difficult question to answer right now, given that we were just provided the notice. I think late this afternoon that it was forwarded through the AMA and B Association. So it will go into general and or utility revenue, and that will be discussed with council in the future.
Okay, so yeah, I guess I didn't think that you would be that fast to have a plan for spending it, but yeah, that was my question. It was, so staff will bring a plan, like bring a budget, like a separate plan for that money to council for approval, or do the decisions around spending it just get made by senior management? I guess that's my question. Like, who decides how that money gets spent?
Well, staff have certain spending authority, so anything over $6,000 has to come to council anyway. So it is 300,000. So there will be a report provided to council as to what our recommendation is and whether some of it gets spent, some of it get offset related to additional COVID expenses that we've had in 2021. Some of it gets set aside. With the unknowns of what the next 6 months, 9 months, 11 months bring. So there will be something brought forward to council over the next few months.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any more questions from the public? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Tower.
I second that.
Second, Councillor Finney. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe out there.
Right.
Night.
Right.
Good night. Have a
Night,
great night.